T Smart, and we are your hosts. I'm T. This is B, and happy to have everybody with us on another Sunday evening. It's been an interesting week in sports, which we will hop into. If this is your first time listening to us, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification buttons. We appreciate it all. And before we even dive into sports, we'll start off with something a little bit more serious that's going on in the world today, and it's made a lot of headlines and news, which is the devastating fires that are happening in Lahaina, in Maui. So, our thoughts and prayers.
La- Lahaina, my
Lahaina.
brother.
See, the,
Close,
see,
close.
B has lived in Hawaii, so he's got to help me out all the time with pronunciations of anything on the island. So, but our thoughts and prayers go out to the folks that are obviously dealing with a very tough time with the fires that are, devastating fires that are taking over and causing a lot of disruption and havoc. So, thoughts and prayers to all the folks out there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and dive into this week in sports, and we'll start with some. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's preseason football, folks. It's not going to be glamorous. It's not going to be the hottest topic. We got a few weeks actually before the start of the regular season, and of course, teams have gone or we're getting into training camp. They're starting to they're getting their B and C teams out there on the field to give us a lot of meaningless football that we probably don't care that much about. But hey, you know what? Let's jump into it. So the first thing we'll talk about being this is a discussion that has been going on forever. I don't know if some of the folks that are listening probably were in on this conversation last year when the quarterback situation or with the 49ers was up in the air and everyone was believing in a guy named Trey Lance. And you know, B really took offense to that. He didn't like him, because of his lack of experience. Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot. Yeah, he didn't like him. Didn't
Go
didn't
ahead,
like him at
man,
all.
because I'll still say it.
I
I
know
still
you.
don't
I know
like
you
him.
will. And so I watched the preseason game today, in chunks because to be honest with you, I mean Jimmy G wasn't there. Josh Jacobs is a holdout, which we'll talk about later, and none of the starters played. But B, can we put to bed the idea that Trey Lance is the answer at quarterback?
Well, just about. I think today's start to the game wasn't all that impressive, to say the least. Like, dude, he made the Raiders' second string defense look like
Yeah,
all pro,
they look good.
an all pro defensive team. This is his opportunity to solidify that backup role, and it's important because not only for that, but the Niners are probably going to end up using him for some trade bait because they got to recover those first round picks that they got rid of in order to get Trey Lance. So he needs to perform not only just to keep his NFL career alive, but not become a full time backup as the number 3 overall pick. There's a lot of pressure for him now. He's fully healthy. He's gonna have a chance to show himself. Uh, Kind of the reason why. But today's game was not a good way to start that campaign off because he looked awful. And the Niners only scored a touchdown. You know why? Because there was a defensive player trying to catch the ball, and hence the reason why he's on defense. Other than that, he probably, that was probably going to be an interception. The
Yeah, it
Niners may have
was.
never
Yeah.
scored, to say the least. So this is big for Trey Lance, and it's big for the Niners as well because Brock Purdy may only play a series. And so with that, you need to really solidify that number 2 backup, and you have to trust that number 2 to kind of pick things up here. So it's going to be a quarterback competition between Sam Darnold and Trey Lance. But Trey Lance did not help his own cause today against a second string defense. You can't play like that against a second string defense, preseason or not.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Sam Darnold pick up that second wave of time after, after Purdy gets his opportunity to participate in the preseason, because honestly, I mean, like Trey Lance is a project, and the 49ers aren't in a project position. They're in a position to win now. And so the idea of waiting on a quarterback to figure out all these nuances, after only playing a limited amount of time, both in college and obviously in the NFL, it's not something that the 49ers have the time to do. So I really think that this is a this is a farewell tour, folks. He's going to end up at the bottom. He's going to end up as a third string quarterback, and the hope is that they can somehow flip him for a sixth or fifth round draft pick because, I mean, play unwanted players being traded in the NFL, they don't go for much. So
Yeah, and look, the Niners may just have to wash their hands and say we messed up on this one. Um, kind of the silver lining is Brock Purdy turned out to be something better than they thought, which is great. Like I think that's what the Niners offense was really looking for, and they've got it in him. But look, I use this trade all the time. The Warriors went out and traded James Wiseman, and that completely blew up in their face there.
Yep.
Couldn't stay on the court, wasn't what they thought it was going to be. It's a decision you have to make.
Yeah.
So the Niners thought they saw something, and they're getting what they really got out of Trey Lance right now. So
yeah.
it's tough, but at this point, you've got a good veteran backup in Sam Darnold. You've solidified Brock Purdy as being your QB1. So it's either keep Trey Lance as your third string quarterback or cut him or trade him. Get those picks back. At least try to get something for it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we can, the talk can continue, but at the end of the day, I think this is the bitter end of that whole saga. We know who the quarterback will be, and unless we run into more injury circumstances, knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen for the 49ers. But
yeah.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Speaking of folks getting injured, let's move that over to my side of things with the Las Vegas Raiders, who had a wonderful game today and whose defense looked unstoppable. But I want to remind everybody again, this is just preseason.
It's the preseason,
and we didn't get a chance to see Garoppolo. All we've heard is what's been going on behind the scenes without a camera. So, but I want to start with Davante Adams, who there was a report of him having a leg injury. Now the reports are it's not serious, and that he actually was able to get from the field to the locker room, which suggests that he didn't have to be carted off or something crazy like that. So I think the hope is that he is healthy. The hope is that this is just a minor injury and that he will play at the beginning of the Raiders season. It is important that he does because, Garoppolo is going to need a main target. He's the best wide receiver that the Raiders have on their team. And if a guy like that gets injured, then, we might as well start calling up the the John Gruden plays where we're just running 55 times a game. So, so not exciting. So hopefully that we'll wait. I'll wait to hear more information about that. But the Raiders obviously cannot go into this season with important offensive players being injured.
Well, yeah, and Davante Adams obviously is their offense now with the holdout of Josh Jacobs. And Hunter Renfro's a slot receiver.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who's going to beat you down the field. He's kind of like the Julian Edelman of the group where it's a 5-yard slant and you let him go to work. But you're not asking him to get 15, 20 yards on a deep ball. That's just not going to happen from him. So, the Raiders really need to hope that this injury isn't serious. Obviously, they're never going to say it's serious. But, look, it's a leg injury.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what you say. It's a leg injury, so there's going to be a little bit of soreness to it, and the Raiders just got to hope. I don't think he's going to play the rest of the preseason. Let's just be honest. They can't afford to lose him. Jimmy G can't afford to lose him. So it's going to be, hey, you're sitting out for the rest of just get healthy and get ready for week 1 in a month here. Can't afford that injury. That offense is already thin ice.
Yeah,
you lose him, you guys are just. You might as well start your second.
Yeah, exactly. And you bring up another great point is about the Raiders' offense being on thin ice, and a lot of that also has to do with the fact that Josh Jacobs still is not under contract and is holding out. So, or hasn't gotten a new contract and is holding out.
Mm-hmm.
So, we had our discussion about this, about how running backs are paid comparatively to other positions in the NFL. Your CBs, defensive backs. Most other positions are getting paid at this point in time more than what running backs are getting, even at the top, even the best running backs. So, I don't know what's gonna happen here. Josh Jacobs had an incredible season last year. Really carried a lot of our offense for a majority of the season, and so definitely deserves to get paid. However, the question is, will he get what he's looking for? Rather it be a higher per year salary or something more long term. Because obviously, if you're a running back playing in the NFL and you're only playing, you're only getting a 1 year contract. There's no security in that, obviously. So B, what do you see, man? Do you think Josh Jacobs? You think is he gonna sign? Is he gonna play? Will he be there at the season opener?
I don't think so. I don't. Well, I don't think so. And because the only reason why is the Raiders have announced Zamir White, their first pick from last year, as
Yeah.
running back one. So let me ask you this: would you pull Zamir White out of being running back one, and how he's gonna handle that to bring in a disgruntled Josh Jacobs for holding out?
Yeah, it depends on how they decide to handle it. I mean, honestly, they if they haven't been able to sit down at the table and work something out by this time, that really sends a strong message that management and the agent for the player for Josh Jacobs are not on the same page. So I
Yeah.
would have thought they would have sat down and at least hashed some things out to figure out if indeed, hey, is this the direction that we can go in? Can you pay me? If you can't pay me, what are the next steps? Are you good? Can I be released? Can I be traded? These are all the types of discussions you want to try to have before you get into the season, and really calls into question what the intention of the Raiders is. Are they really out to play in the playoffs and win championships, or is this going to be a stopgap for them to, in my opinion, just completely, crap on this season to try to get a high draft pick and get the quarterback that they really want? And so, I don't know, man. I don't get the sense that this team is ready to jump into that situation quite yet. I could be pleasantly surprised, but it feels like they're just trying to fill things out. They're doing it the Patriot way, which I hate because we're the Raiders. But as folks know, the Patriots don't pay anybody.
um,
They don't pay anybody, and once they get kind of old, they get rid of them.
nope.
So we'll see how it plays out.
So you also bring a good point is Josh Jacobs may not sign with another team unless he's getting the money that he wants.
Right?
He may even end up holding out for the entire
Yeah.
year due to the running back situation here. And it only takes one to support the decision that all these running backs are making.
All right.
So let's be honest, he may just say, you know what, I'm not playing until I get the contract that I deserve. And so he may not play this entire year. Is the team really going to spend $15 million on a running back after week 6? That's a very tough decision to make right
Right.
there. And without being in your offensive scheme as well, it's not good. I think Josh Jacobs may be the foundation for the running backs as far as holdouts go, saying, "Hey, I'm not playing. I want my money. I deserve this money. Please pay me." And honestly, it's very valid and warranted for what he wants to do.
Yeah.
So I thing is, I don't think he gets the money that he wants.
Absolutely. And yeah, maybe he's a sacrificial lamb. Maybe he's the running back that's going to stand out and take the hit and say, look, we got to get paid. We got to do something different. So kudos to him.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think running backs should get paid. I think that, I never really agreed with the way the NFL handles business when it comes to the longevity of their players, especially when you talk about you're one of the top tier players in the league. We're not talking about just kind of your middle of the pack or bums. We're talking about guys that are putting up 1,000 plus, 1,200 plus yards in a season with nearly 10 touchdowns, and so usually if you do the work, you should get paid. So I'm rooting for him, man. I'm rooting for him. We'll see what happens. But for now, they're gonna go on the cheap and stick with Zamir White because he ain't getting paid nothing. You know what I mean? Or just he's not getting paid as much.
Nope, he's on that. He's on that rookie contract.
That's right, baby.
So might as well.
That's right. Just give him a bag of Skittles and a soda, and he'll be happy. So I guess we're going to stick with the Raiders. One other story that popped up this week was the trial or the sentencing for Henry Ruggs III. It was a wide receiver, was a fairly good slot wide receiver, speed wide receiver for the Raiders, and got himself caught up in a DUI car crash, a huge crash. It was a pretty big story that unfortunately took the life of the lady that he hit. So obviously, you knew that there was something was going to happen. That we didn't know the extent of what he would be charged, and would he actually do jail time. Well, he's facing up to 10 years in prison. So obviously, we're talking about your career shot. At that, at this point, as far as playing in the NFL, and yeah, it's an unfortunate circumstance, and really just goes to show, man. Look, no matter how far you get, you're only one mistake from going back to square one.
Yeah, absolutely here. And what kind of blows my mind is the sentencing, 3 to 10 years.
Yeah, they don't.
There's a
Yeah,
large there's a large gap difference. So I
yeah,
don't know if there's any kind of sort of bail involved, community service, or at some point after doing this time, they're like, hey, he did enough. Let's get him out here. But look, we all knew this was coming. It was just a matter of time here. And look, Henry Ruggs had no track record of being a bad person.
yeah,
This is the issue that the NFL may have to start looking into, is these young players putting themselves in these positions the way it is. You know, these are the growing pains or the growing steps that the NFL needs to take charge of, and just say, hey, we hold our players to a standard here. Please make sure. And Henry Ruggs isn't making cheap money either. That dude was making some pretty good change. And honestly, Uber should have been an option for him. But I think the league may want to take just a little more look into this and just say, hey, how do we help our young players? You don't worry about your veterans. Your veterans have been through this already.
yeah,
But these guys coming into the league, getting millions of dollars for the first time and not knowing how to act, that's what it comes down to.
right,
Is these guys are getting money they've never seen before.
right,
So how do you control that? How do you manage that? I could tell you this: if I made $1 million and I could throw a party with no limit, dude, you're probably throwing the party of a lifetime. Both of us probably are at that point.
yeah,
So I think these are the things that they have to help these young players get to when they're going through this, because it was what, his rookie year when he did this.
yeah. So yeah, man, and hopefully the commissioners listen to you. So he can try to, I'm sure they can put together, or if they don't already have something where there's a committee to help young players with some of the decision making process, to help them from making some of these grave mistakes. They could definitely use this as a prime example of what happens when
Absolutely.
it doesn't have to be something that you continually do. It could literally be just one moment. It could be one mistake, and you could lose everything. So yeah, man, we'll see. We'll follow the story more and see what the full sentencing actually looks like. But yeah, it's an unfortunate story, but man, it's a heck of a thing to have to learn, especially in that way.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So
It's just it. Speaking of cheaters, well, I'm sorry, no. Let's dive into some cheaters
oh
here,
man,
okay? 49ers CEO Jed York is being sued for concealing the company's role in helping college students cheat on an online test. Now, he is part of a group that runs Check Account, and this helps college students, I guess, with some testing stuff. And he helped them cheat so he can make more money. Bro,
this is a strange.
You tell me,
story,
when we were
man.
going to school, what was the one thing we weren't supposed to do?
Yeah, well,
We weren't supposed to
obviously.
cheat.
And then especially when you talk about at the college level, now obviously there's money involved. You're paying tuition. The you getting a degree is going to impact the rest of your life. So there's a lot at stake. So there's a lot of pressure in college, and obviously Chegg, or whatever the heck we want to call it, and York's company was taking advantage of that and basically getting answers, or providing a service that would help create answers or find answers for specific questions on tests. And so yeah, folks were using it to cheat. And so now, the back part of this, the crazy thing is, on the back of the cheating, with more people being a part of Chegg or investing in Chegg, the amount of the share rose up to, I think, close to $100 or something like that a share during that time period.
Mm-hmm.
And then subsequently, once folks went back to school, it dropped all the way back. It ended up dropping off or getting back into classrooms after COVID. So I think it's crazy because this is not just the fact that they were cheating, but there also is some up there. He's also being accused of of playing with the stocks as well, and so or insider trading.
That's
So it's
this is
there's
not a good look.
it just goes to show. It's just a friendly reminder to people that just because folks are rich, it doesn't mean that they are special. They're just regular people, and they're gonna do stuff. And much of what they do, unfortunately, goes around is centered around greed. Once you have a certain amount of money. So this is a guy who was born to rich parents. Man, he's got all the money he's ever wanted. Jed York's parents have owned the Niners, and he's come in and has probably lived a pretty smooth life. But here he is trying to cheat the system so that he can get paid.
Through everything that happened in the week of sports, the fact when I read this article, I was like, why?
Yeah, it does.
Like you said, all the money in the world. Why do you need to take it this far? Completely unnecessary to help your frustrated foundation here. So I bet you whatever he says that comes out of this is complete BS. Like,
oh yeah,
how do you lie about the system?
Dude,
and how do you help? Why are you doing this? Like, there's got to be a better answer.
He's rich.
There really needs to be a good answer for this.
He's gonna hire he's using his money to hire the best lawyers, and then those lawyers are going to they're gonna help him, get out of it somehow. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's a really silly, stupid story, and it's kind of like why would you even risk your? We just talked about Henry Ruggs doing stupid stuff. Why would you risk all that you have, just for a couple of million when your family is worth way more than that? So
yeah, it makes no sense.
These guys are idiots. They need to get real jobs and find something to do with themselves, I guess, or just go back on vacation. I don't know. It's like, whatever, man. Seriously.
You know what they should do is if you think it's a bad idea, go on vacation.
Yeah.
Remove yourself from this situation and just take a quick trip so you forget about it there. Let me ask Nate Becerra, welcome to the show. When Trey Lance settled, he clearly looked like the best quarterback out there. The problem is, Nate, is there was a lot of bad that couldn't overtake the good. There were throws, there were decisions that he made in the pocket that they wanted a better outcome. You can't be getting sacked by the second string defense. Understanding when to get rid of the ball, how long to hold on to the ball. You got it. Those are the things that they want to see because you have to instill that as a part of your game. So the fact that it took too many sacks in a preseason game, that's got to be the concerning part for the 49ers is, does this guy have the knowledge, the know to get rid of a ball when the pocket collapses, to wash the play and move on to the next one?
What? I think
incomplete pass when the pocket breaks. What we said?
Yeah, man. So I mean, I think it goes back to what I said, right, about the time frame and about what the Niners need and the fact that they need it right now. The key word used in that sentence from Nathan was settled. They're not in a position to wait for a quarterback to settle. They're just not. The 49ers aren't in a position to crap off 4 games so that Trey Lance can figure out how to play football. That would be different if you were on a team like the Jaguars or if you were on a team that was on the come up or at least trying to figure out how they can be competitive on a Sunday to Sunday basis. But the 49ers are a well-established machine that's been churning out some of the best defenses in the past 3 to 5 years. So for them to throw him out there and wait for him to get settled, we're talking about a preseason game here, and wait for him to get settled.
Yeah.
That's not the timeline that the 49ers are on. They can't wait for Trey Lance to make all the mistakes and for him to be a better quarterback. They're just not in that position. I want to remind you that he didn't outplay the guy on the other side of the ball who's Adrian O'Connell. Has anybody ever heard of him? 15 for 18, 141
Yeah,
yards and 1 touchdown. So this is the point. I'm waiting on this guy to settle in a preseason game. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball for the Raiders, I wanted to see Garoppolo play. Instead, I got Derek Carr Jr. He kind of looks like him a little bit. I don't know what that was, a little darkness around his eyes. That he outplays Trey Lance. I mean, we got to stop making excuses for guys. At some point, they have to produce. At least,
yeah, absolutely here. And you bring that he's definitely rusty. The Niners don't have time for rust. These guys got to be ready to go.
It's the same thing, man. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's a Super Bowl. It's got to be a Super Bowl year for the Niners. It's going to be centered around Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Jawan Jennings. That's a lot of talent, and they are bringing which is now ranked the number one defense going into the season. You don't have the margin for error for this team is very, very small, and we're talking they got to be the best team in the NFC. They need to be in the Super Bowl. Like, you can't have all this talent and find yourself, not in that Super Bowl. That's the pressure that they're going to have to live off of.
Yeah, no, and it was extremely disappointing last year to have that opportunity and then have injury strike the way that it did. So I mean, they have no reason to believe that with the team that they put out there last year that played in the playoffs that they can go to the Super Bowl. They have to believe that. And most people that saw the game would. Now, would they have beat the Eagles? I don't know, but if they would have been healthy, it would have been a much, much better game. So it's at this point, I don't even think it's not going to be a conversation. The conversation is about, can Trey Lance be the backup? I think that's the conversation.
Yeah, because he's not starting. That's all for Mr. Brock himself. David says he needs more playing time for sure. That's why this preseason matters so much for him, because he played a whole half of football. Quarterbacks that are going to start in the NFL don't see that much playing time. They just don't there. Trey hasn't played football for 2 years, though, bro. Of course he's going to look like that. But honestly, he only had 3 college games before he got drafted. So the number 3 kind of rolls with him. 3 college games, number 3 overall pick, 3 NFL games, and now he may be the 3rd string quarterback.
man.
It's all going to roll in with him. Back to the preseason here. Now, we saw a lot of injuries take place. You had Devontae Adams, Joe Burrow, which is the biggest one right now. The Bengals losing their quarterback here. And these are just basically ginormous joint practices being held in the stadium.
Yeah.
With the starters basically even playing. So, I mean, realistically, how many? I know they cut it down to 3, but how many games should the preseason honestly be? Because they're having joint practices for like 3 days before they play. Is it even necessary?
This is the argument, man. The bottom line is the owners want that money. So the tickets that are paid to go to these preseason games, the owners are not willing to forfeit. Now, maybe if we're saying instead of doing actual preseason games, we should have a paid attended camp where just like the Raiders and the Niners just had, where folks can attend and watch that. I think maybe that's an option for the NFL to go in. But at the end of the day, you got to remember there's TV contracts involved. There's butts that need to be in the seat. There's hot dogs and beers to sell. And the owners are not going to, they're just not going to give up those preseason games because there's still money to be made, no matter how bad the football is.
I just think it's, if you're not going to start your starters, what's the point of putting that game together? Again, you're going to charge these prices to roll out 2nd and 3rd stringers.
Yeah.
I could pay much less than that and go to a joint practice and see that product right there. That's basically what this is here, I don't know. I think that's the greedy side of the NFL, because at the end of the day, come week 1, you probably make all that money back from the preseason.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know, man.
It's greed, man. It's just good old fashioned greed, man. It's Chegg.com, baby. It's Chegg.com, just like Jay York. You got to get
The Jed York of preseason
every
football.
penny, man, and that's what the owners are doing. They're trying to get every penny that they can. So I understand it, but from a viewership perspective, yeah, it's not the greatest football to watch. I would love to go on here and gloat about the Raiders beating the 49ers, but realistically, if we look at how the two teams played last year and the talent that's on both of those rosters, I mean, it's not even close. You know, we the Raiders haven't been in contention in the playoffs for a few years now, and the 49ers just got done playing in the NFC Championship game. So I don't see it. So yeah, it doesn't it only speak the only thing I think it does is it gives those young players an opportunity to cement themselves a roster spot or find a home on another team by showcasing themselves. I think that's the most important thing that preseason can do, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much here.
Yeah.
Nathan, we're glad you keeping our comment chat alive. He comes in and goes, "What's the answer if Purdy starts throwing ghosts?" Well, that's why you signed Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's a good quarterback. He just never had a chance to showcase it. He went to the Jets and played on the Panthers, so that's everything you need to know for a quarterback here. Again, he was the number 3 overall pick back in 2018. So I but he's a polished quarterback. He's played in a lot of games. He's played in a lot of college games as well. So he knows. He absolutely knows what's going on here. So I think Trey Lance has got to really outshow Sam Darnold to get that. But if he starts throwing go, Sam Darnold's coming in. I think that's the main key there. And then he says 49ers old line was embarrassing today, even for backups. That's embarrassing, dude. Like it was a
Yeah.
problem. But as a quarterback, you need to know how to handle those situations here. And I think just Trey did a terrible job, terrible job handling
I
that.
mean, all I'll say is he did what he could, but what he could do wasn't impressive. That's all. So I'm not trying to rag on him too
No,
much. It's just
no.
that the showing that we if we're looking for some silver lining or ember of hope that shows that this guy could be the starting quarterback for the 49ers, we did not see that today. That's all we're saying.
Yep, that's all it is. Week 2, preseason week 2, another game for him to figure
Yeah,
it out here.
maybe he'll come out there and
So
blow the top off the thing. We don't know, but for right now, it's a real meh, you know.
the wheels are starting to come off. They're
Yeah,
turning and they're not tightened on tight.
yeah, man.
Um, and folks, if you like what you're watching here, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're a first time tuner watching our show, we appreciate you having you in here. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and continue to tune in here. Taj, why don't you take us forward
Yeah,
here?
so we're gonna move forward into baseball, my favorite sport, right, and then we're gonna talk about the Giants. And last week we talked about the Giants being within about, I believe it was 3.5 or 4 games of the Dodgers, and the fact that they had an opportunity still, even though they were slipping a little bit, to catch up and catch them. And within a week's time, that is changed to, is it 8 games now? About eight. They're about eight and
Yep.
a half games back. Man, so the offense has definitely struggled. We talked about that in the last Sunday, and it's continued to. I believe they played the Rangers and didn't have a great go. They did have a win tonight though, with a walk off shot. In the 10th inning. So
Yeah, 10th
they
inning of
did
the game
show
there.
some life. However, unfortunately, the Dodgers are playing pretty darn well, and it's pushing them back. But
Don't say that. Don't say
but
that. I hate the
but
fact that that's even the story.
but they're not completely out of it. There's still an opportunity to play in the playoffs, even if they do not catch the Dodgers. So I'll put in a little silver lining of hope. But B, I'm gonna turn it over to you. What's going on with these last few games from a week ago? Is it the same as far as offense, and what specifically is going on that's keeping them from putting runs on the board?
Dude, it's tough right now, man. So the Rangers were in town. They're lead, and that's a playoff
Yeah,
team
that's a yeah,
that they're facing. So it's a very good team that
right.
they faced, and there were just too many opportunities lost with the bases loaded. I think last night or even Friday night they came up to had a chance to cut into leads or even take the lead, and just no clutch hitting right now
Yeah,
at this time. And that's the tough part to see is, you know, we went a week ago from being 3.5 games out to 8.5 games. Like that's too. I said from the start of August, you need to stay within the amount of games back of the Dodgers that you are. 8 games is not good. You only have them 7 times,
Yeah.
so you have to cut that down. You need to keep it within 4 to 5 here, and that's just the tough part right there, man. It's just you know right there, and now there's some serious catch up that you haven't be played, and the fact that the Dodgers don't want to lose is even the hardest thing to even imagine right now, because now it's almost like that chance of catching an NL West
Yeah.
title
It's fading.
is slim to none. In the wild card, but that's they extended the wild card to get more teams in. But you were there to take the division. Now you're watching it slip to the side here. So hopefully they figure this out. But August, as I said, is the toughest month for every baseball team that is struggling to get out of it. It just feels a lot longer when these days slowly go by.
Yeah, and to add insult to injury, the Phillies are playing very well and have now kind of pushed themselves to the forefront of that wild card spot. So it's a double whammy. So the Giants do have to find some way to make up some ground because obviously they don't want to be on the outside looking as far as the playoffs go.
Absolutely here. And before we move forward here, Cookie Boy Breaks is in
What's
here as
up?
well, and that's why he needs Trey Lance to work out, because he's got to have 20K in rookie cards of him as
There
well.
you go.
And if people don't know, Cookie Boy Breaks was nice enough to get us to come onto our show last year to talk some trading cards and the value of them. So if for those who are new to this, Trey Lance's value is also on the line for us in the industry of collecting cards because let me put it like this: you can go from having a 5K card to about a $100 card, depending on how the player does. Obviously, the player doesn't care, but for us who are on that border of making money and not making money, these kind of things matter here.
Yeah.
So, Cookie Boy, I'm hoping that at least you get some value out of Trey Lance here, but we'll see, to say the least.
Hey man. Hey man. Best case scenario, man, he goes to a different squad and blows up. Then you can hold on to that rookie card. We'll see how it goes though. Oh boy. So
Sure can.
let's talk about some Shohei Otani here. So B, we talked about the fact that there was maybe an opportunity that or chance that he would get traded. The Angels won a few games and then that sort of dropped off the table. So what's going on now? What's the status of Shohei being available? Either
So
this upcoming off season.
apparently, it sounds like he's going to be available. So when they were playing the Giants, he diverted the question on about courting the Giants in Japan in 2017.
Mm.
The Giants were a finalist to get Shohei. They ended up losing to the Angels here. But Shohei came out and said that the Giants will be one of the teams he wants to speak with and be a finalist for when it comes to the offseason here. And if you are a Giants fan, as much as we've been through, has to be a little bit of an exciting news here.
Yeah.
And if you were the Giants front management, and we talked about this, it's all chips on the table. You have to go after this guy. If he's willing to entertain you guys again, make it worth the time even more than 2017. Because the Giants had a chance at him in 2017, and they unfortunately didn't get him. So now it's going to be 2024. You have to put all your chips on the table and go after this man here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like you always say, bust out that checkbook, baby. Write that check.
If you need to go bankrupt, because
Hey,
you'll make it up with fans in the seats and that man throwing 100 miles an hour and hitting 400-foot bombs. So the payoff will be there. It's what you're willing to do to get to that payoff there.
exactly. And the hope is that he doesn't go anywhere near LA. I think is the big topic. Keep him away from LA.
You got it.
And I
Exactly.
hate to say
Don't do
this,
it.
but be very careful. There is a Japanese basketball player on the Los Angeles Lakers. So that speaks full
I
Japanese.
know.
So be careful. There's some insider plays there. Anyway, let's move on. So what's this about this broadcaster? we getting fired. We getting fired for the truth now. So apparently, a Baltimore Orioles
So
broadcaster, Kevin Brown. I'll let you take the story away, B. Go ahead.
so Kevin Brown, the Orioles were playing in Tampa Bay, and supposedly the Orioles just does not have a good it has not had a good showing in Tampa Bay over the last 3 seasons. So all he did was outline the series that have gone on and how the Baltimore Orioles have been over at Tropicana Field out in Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah.
Dude, it was on the screen. He's just reading what's provided to him, and
So
the
how the hell
Baltimore
did they get
Orioles
fired?
felt so offended. They first fired him, and then the Orioles came out and say he was suspended, and now he's back with the broadcasting team. You
Oh
know
my.
how dumb that
Looks,
looks
yeah, it looks really
as an
stupid.
organization.
Oh my god.
You should be like, yo, this is a problem that our team cannot win at a certain field. We got to fix that. He never belittled the Baltimore Orioles team. He never talked any mess about them. He just said, dude, we suck in this building. That's all he was saying. That's
I
all he
mean,
said. And they said, nope, we got to fire you or suspend you.
can we not be so allergic to the truth these days? I mean, let's just take a break. If you don't like what you're hearing, but there's some facts in it, do what you can to try to rectify it. That's all you got to do. Just
That's
acknowledge
it.
it and make it better. You don't have to get your, to get all upset, get your butt on your shoulders, and they're over here firing this guy for reading off a teleprompter. It's just telling the truth. It's just
Yeah,
telling the truth, and that's it. And
he
so
sucked.
how you fired a man for doing his job, basically. What was he supposed to say? Yeah, there's, was he supposed to lie and tell everybody how great the Orioles are at playing against Tampa Bay in their home on their home field? I mean, I don't know what the alternative is. There's no right answer if you can't even tell the truth. It doesn't make any
There's
sense.
none.
None at
You
all.
suck at Tropicana. So
Exactly.
figure it out. That's all he was. That's it. Basically
Right.
he was putting in that kind of terms.
Right.
He just said it professionally. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And
Right.
for him to even remotely get fired for that, dude, that's embarrassing as an organization, man. You should be more embarrassed that you can't win at this place.
Yeah.
I'll put it like this: the Warriors never won in San Antonio for like 7 years.
Yeah.
We knew that when the Warriors went to San Antonio, it was an automatic
L.
loss
Yeah.
until 2014 when they finally won a game. Like Bob Fitzgerald kept outlining the Warriors not won here in 40. And every time the Warriors went, they were like, oh, damn, another loss. But he didn't lose
Yep.
his job for that. He's just saying the truth. And so if
It's
that's what it's
unfortunate,
going to
man.
take to lose your job, now you can't even say anything.
It's ridiculous, is what it is, and they probably suspended him to keep from getting sued because that doesn't make any sense at all. And folks,
And
just want to
now
remind,
he's got his job back.
yeah, well, exactly right. That's what I'm saying. They had to bring him back because he probably was like, "Look, I'm gonna hire a lawyer and I'm gonna sue you guys because I'm literally doing my job and you fired me." Doesn't make any sense at all. Um, just
No,
so
not at all.
just a quick reminder, folks. Again, you're with BNT Sports Talk Show. If you do like what you're hearing, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification button. We appreciate it. So,
Absolutely, man.
let's transition to the last sport, the NBA. Well, the only thing to talk about the NBA was the Hall of Fame inductees Dirk Nowitzki, Tony Parker, Paul Gasol, and Dwayne Wade, the youngest of the group there. I gotta say it was powerful listening to Powell talk about Kobe and some of the
Yeah.
that first conversation they had about Kobe coming in and after him getting signed and literally just telling him, "Hey, bro, I'm here to win championships. Okay, cool," and then leaves.
Yep.
So I think those are great stories. Obviously, I'm a huge Laker fan, so Pau Gasol has a special place in my heart. Coming over from the Memphis Grizzlies, where he was a All-Star player, by the way, but the Grizzlies weren't that great. They were a new ball club at the time, and we traded Kwame Brown for him. It was great, awesome. We traded Kwame Brown and rights to Pau Gasol, his brother, for him. Rights to Mark Gasol
Marc Gasol.
and Kwame Brown to the Grizzlies for Powell, and that led to 3 finals appearances and 2 championships. So kudos to Powell. I don't even think I need to talk
Before we
about.
go forward,
I don't need to talk about Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, we already know what he's done.
came in. I just want to tell you, Drunk, you're never late. You're one of the OGs of our show here, so you are never late. and he said Trey Lance was throwing pizzas.
Oh, see, you missed it, man. Yeah, hey, drunk. We were just talking about it, man, and basically what we were saying is we think that the Trey Lance argument is over, and I think it'll be good if he can if he can be a second string quarterback. I think he's at this point he's just a second string quarterback. Now I'm gonna ignore that last. I'm gonna ignore that last one. Marcus All Prime. No.
Sorry, Drunk. I'm gonna have to disagree with that.
And
one
I'm gonna tell
Pau Gasol in his prime was top notch.
Pau Gasol in his prime was better because he played better in better situations in the playoffs. I think Pau was a better producer. Pau played against some really, really staunch teams, including a 7-game series against the Boston Celtics in 2009. Or was it? Yeah, 2009. I think it was 2009. And I'm sorry, he was just better. And he played against some pretty good centers along the way. He was playing against Kevin Garnett, although Kevin was a little bit past his prime. You know, he played against, Dwight Howard in his prime in Orlando. And the guy was a top-notch, high-quality basketball player, superb IQ, and was really one of those bigs at 7 feet who could play from the free throw line in. So he had a nice jumper. He had good post work. He could rebound the ball, and he was the man. He's trying to start something.
You
Marcus
started it all right. You saw a little bit of steam come out of T's head right there.
Oh,
he was trying to hold it back. But speaking of the Hall of Fame, look, I think the NBA got it right, or the Hall of Fame for the NBA got it right with this one. I think all 4 players are well deserved. All 4 are champions. As well. Dirk Nowitzki had one of the most amazing careers in Dallas. And I think he kind of started the revolution of big man being able to shoot a perimeter. There wasn't many guys you saw that were 7 feet shooting a fadeaway as their signature shot. That wasn't allowed back in those days there. So Tony Parker, again, one of the most beloved friends, a 4-time champion out of the why am I blanking on the manager's name? Can you help me? Who's the manager for who's the coach for the?
Oh yeah, Pop.
Yeah,
Popovich.
Greg Popovich. There it is.
Yeah.
As you described, Pau Gasol and Dwayne Wade, who brought life to the city of Miami when he got there. So I think the NBA got it good with this Hall of Fame class. I think it was very well deserved for all 4 guys to get into that hall.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Tony Parker getting in has a lot to do with him being an international player. He was one of those guys, didn't say a lot, but got the job done. Dwayne Wade is the best the best screen and roll guard I've ever seen in my life. He's one of those guys that when you set a screen for him, he was able to get downhill. Was not the greatest jump shooter, but he was a guy in his prime that was supremely athletic, dunked on everybody. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, man, his performance, and I believe it was the 2006 championship team where they won the championship.
Yeah, against the Mavericks.
Against the Mavericks. That was his Hall of Fame moment. I think what he was capable of doing in that finals run is why he's in the Hall of Fame now. Even though he did some stuff with Braun and all that watching him play in that finals, him being an up and coming young star but hadn't really ascended to being, a great player, for him to take over that series, average darn near 30 points a game, he was the man, and he got it done.
Yeah, and Drunk comes in and says, Drunk, you ain't the only one. Did you know that Dwayne Wade and Iverson were homeboys and that close?
I mean, I didn't. I mean, AI is one of those guys that everybody respects, so you kind of expect guys to know him, but I didn't know they were like they were that close. No.
AI introduced him in a suit jacket with Dwayne Wade's number and name on the back of it. I didn't know that they were that close. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And AI is kind of graduated into being this like retired elder statesman kind of figure. All of a sudden, he has a lot of respect for most of the NBA because he's very genuine. He never changed his bravado. He never changed who he is. He's the same guy.
He changed the culture of the NBA. Yeah. When he entered the league,
he did.
He changed that culture.
Yep.
Real quick, the FIBA World Cup is underway. Team USA is led by Steve Kerr and some really significant coaches there. But when you look at this roster, that is a very young roster
Very.
that Team USA is putting out there. And we're talking likes of Anthony Edwards. Who else am I blanking on here? Is it not Dinwiddie? It's the guy for the
Mikal Bridges.
that got
Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Austin Reeves.
Yep.
You know, you got a lot of young guys out there carrying the torch, and hopefully they can keep doing it. They've been beating the crap out of everybody so far, so I don't see why. I think they'll be fine. So you know, they haven't lost a game yet. I think it's academics at this point. It's just going to get done. They're going to get the job done and handle the World Cup.
Hopefully here, and we only bring that because there's not a veteran star player on this roster here. So this is why it's an interesting thing to see this young talent being brought in. But I don't know, maybe it will work. And speaking of Anthony Edwards, he was finally fined for throwing the chair. I don't know if you really want to call it a chair throw, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
$50,000 for throwing that chair.
Yeah, $50,000, man.
$50K for throwing a chair, and we're gonna talk about some chair throwing later on in a little bit here.
Oh my goodness!
John comes in and says, "Team USA lucky Luka took tonight off." Luka did. I think he would bust every single one of those Team USA members. To be honest,
I think he would. I think he would. But you know what? At the end of the day, Luka understands it ain't even about that. It's about him playing in the regular season. I think Luka's done enough internationally. So he's good. You know what I mean?
Oh no, he's playing in the FIBA. He is playing FIBA.
Yeah, but he ain't gonna extend himself. Let's just put it like that. You know, if the man so much as has gas, he may miss a game. I mean, the Mavs cannot afford to lose him. They can't afford for anything to happen to that guy. He is the entire.
Well, they got Kyrie Irving. What you mean? They'll be all right.
Oh, God. Well, I don't know. He might be traded by Christmas or after the trade deadline, I should say, by February. We'll see. We will see.
Now, speaking of opening nights here, the NBA is trying to find a way to dominate the headlines in the middle of when NFL's trying to take off. And dude, for some reason, the Lakers are being asked to watch the team raise banner for the second straight year. Last year, they had to face the Warriors opening night at Chase Center and watch the Warriors hang a banner. And now they go to play the Nuggets on opening night to watch the Nuggets get their ring and then also raise a banner. So, T, how you feel about 2 straight years watching another team raise a banner against your team?
Hey, Mamba mentality. It's motivation, man. Motivation. It's got to be motivation. They got to go in there and beat them up. That's all, man. And so I'm really excited about this Lakers team just because it's the same one as last year, and we've got a lot of young guys. We don't have the old fogies with their wheelchairs like we had 2 years ago, and I'm excited about what the season will bring. But the Suns and the Warriors, we get to showcase the new three-headed monster, KD and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker against the you guys added the old but good CP3 to your team. And I would look forward to. I'm sure Steph Curry is looking across at Devin Booker, looking across at Bradley, and going, "Oh yeah, none of them can guard me." So yeah, I think it's going to be a good game.
KD can't hide no more. This is the first time KD is playing in a regular season game back against the Warriors here. He's played them against while he was in Brooklyn, but the Warriors are going to give that man his flowers, and rightfully so, for what he did in Golden State.
Yeah.
Look, Oklahoma City, for some reason, still doesn't acknowledge the great years he had there. But the Warriors want to acknowledge Kevin Durant, and that's what they're going to do. So there's no more hiding, though, because it's time to get your ass busted at the Chase Center, to say the least.
I'm ready, man.
I am looking forward
ready,
to
man.
that.
I'm so juiced.
That is KD versus Steph and Draymond. I'm going to include Draymond because that little shouting match. And then you have Devin Booker versus Chris Paul. Woo, that is a good way to end the night.
And we got some bad blood here. We got the Bradley. Remember Bradley and Draymond got into it. Into it once before. Obviously, you got the whole KD thing. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun game. I hope it gets a little chippy, and Steph is gonna go off, man. That's just how this guy rolls. He's gonna come out and throw the ball up there, and hopefully you get a better version of Klay Thompson this season, because the one they had last season, I don't know who that guy was.
We'll dive into that as
Yeah,
it gets
well,
closer.
yeah,
But man, when they had
obviously.
not made that announcement, I was like, "Whoo, that is perfect." But that ticket price for that night,
Oh,
it's
don't
not
even
in my
try.
wallet to
In
say the least.
at Chase Center, no, you got you no, 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 no. Oh man, Birdie,
And then Josh,
thought we were friends. Yeah, Birdie, Mama Birdie chimes in with Lakers are trash. I wouldn't say we're trash, but
yo,
we'll talk about how they play as we get closer to the season. But
Birdie just
I
came in
don't think they're
hot.
trash.
Something tells me that may have come from my sister. She is over for dinner
Right,
tonight, so
yeah, no,
something
man.
tells me that came from Rachel. And look, one last thing. I'm tired of hearing this guy's name, but we're just going to bring it up real quick. James Harden obviously requested a trade from Philly. Philly didn't trade him at all. And now Philly is ending all trade talks with teams, and James Harden is coming back a 76er, which is the last
Oh
thing he
my
probably
god!
wanted
It's
to
like
do.
they're
So,
treating him like a giant kid at this point. He's a giant kid.
this T, he's a guy who doesn't want to be in that locker room, and obviously he's going to have to come. What impact is that going to have with the Philly team in there,
Well,
knowing that they ain't got a guy who wants to be there?
they have to try to convince him to stay. They're gonna have to try to use the team and some of his teammates like Embiid and Tyrese Maxey to get in his ear and say, "Dude, there is no other place you can go where you have a better chance to compete." James Harden has been hopping around from team to team for the past 2 to 3 years. Nothing's worked. He was in Houston. He was the man. It didn't work. They tried to bring players to put next to him. It didn't work. CP3, Russell Westbrook, whatever. None of it worked. And now he's, I don't want to be here no more. He pouts, goes to Brooklyn to play with KD and Kyrie, and that didn't work either.
That didn't work.
So it's like, dude, just stay where you are. Even if you got traded to the Clippers, you're gonna want to be traded to another team in a year. So what difference does it make? Because the Clippers, they're only gonna play 50 games between Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They're not playing a full season. So you're gonna end up left holding the bag anyway at some point by yourself with the rest of the Clipper roster. Dude, it's a shame. They got Nick Nurse, who's a great coach. I don't know what is James Harden trying to accomplish. I don't get it,
Dude, I have no idea.
because it's not winning a championship.
No, and now that team is going to be in shambles because he doesn't want to be there.
Dude, just
and
suck
the
it up,
Sixers said, "Well, you still got to show up for training camp." Well, let's introduce a new segment to our show here. We are introducing a new segment in the show called "What in the Hell Is Going On," where we just talk about a subject that is not related to sports. And damn good one to say the least here. I'm just gonna show this real quickly here.
No, I know. I got it up. I already got it up, B. They can see it.
You got it up?
They can see it.
I'm pulling mine up as well.
No, they can see it. It's on the screen.
Yes, this is amazing here. So I'm going to outline it real quick. It's here just to give it a clarity here real quickly. A security guard was trying to do his job at a docking station. There was a riverboat trying to park. Bad boating terms there. A pontoon boat said, "No, we are not moving." The people that own the pontoon boat decided to jump the security guard, and boy, was that not a good idea, because as soon as that riverboat docked, that, my friends, took place there. And there is a lot to digest, to say the least. T, I'm going to let you go first here before I get into it. Why don't you go ahead and get it going here?
Well, there was some definite misplaced judgment on behalf of the folks involved in this melee. And it's got to start with the folks that are messing with this security guard. So this brother's out here just trying to make sure that the boat, which is not far enough from shore where it cannot be seen. I want to point that out. The man is literally pointing, in parts of the video actually points at the boat, and he's telling them that they need to move so that this boat can dock. Obviously, folks, if you're familiar with the Bay Area, it's similar to the ferry. The ferry has a place where it comes up to dock. People get on it. They go wherever the hell they want to go. So imagine there's a boat parked there where the ferry boat is supposed to go. That boat's got to get out of there. It's in the way. And that's all the man was trying to do. He was trying to get them to leave, so much so to the point that he started moving their boat on his own. The brother was so committed to his job, he untied the rear of the boat and started gently
pushing it.
Jedi style, tugging it or pushing it away so that the people on the riverboat could get back to their homes and to their families or wherever it is they were going to go next. But the owner of the boat took offense to that, came down, started talking mess. And all of a sudden, I guess, I don't know if his son or cousin or some young guy just completely tackles a security guard after some back and forth. They tackle him, and all of a sudden, just it was Caucasians assemble, and then all these people came out of nowhere and started kicking and beating up the poor security guard. Now, of course, we don't condone any violence whatsoever, and we think you should
Not at
solve.
all.
BNT Sports Talk Show believes that you should solve your problems by talking it out and using some using some better ways of settling a confrontation other than your fist. But that ain't what happened here. So obviously he pointed out to the right and showed and pointed to the boat. There's a video of the folks on the boat. They begin to sing the song "Move, B, Get Out the Way." All of the people in unison on the boat before the fight even transpired. And those gentlemen who were attacking the security guard, they didn't even have sense enough to look over there and see that there was a raucous crowd of 50 to 100 black folk on that boat, watching them beat up this black security guard who is clearing the way so that their boat can dock. And as you know, once that boat docked, well, it was a melee like none other. In the spirit, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but the spirit of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and a bunch of other people came out in droves, and the spirit moved fists into people's faces, and the spirit moved chairs into people's heads. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just a bad choice by those folks to attack that security guard, knowing that there was a group of very, very angry folks waiting to get off that boat and exact some revenge on them.
So let's dissect the chaos that is ensuing in this photo here. You have this woman getting yeeted off the dock into the water. You have Fat Boy Jim above there looking like he's going to try to do something about it. And quite honestly, they were outnumbered. And let's talk about the chair. We talked about Anthony Edwards throwing the chair. Uncle grabbed a plastic white chair and absolutely went to town on people. And look, it was plastic, okay? It wasn't a steel chair, so everyone just calm down for a little bit. But this lady who should have never been involved got involved, and she's sitting on the ground with her knees all scraped up and bleeding, and Uncle just walks over and whap and just bonks her over the head with his chair. And finally the police said, look, you've been swinging this thing long enough. We got to
they finally
you've taken it too far.
Let's jump into
look, folks.
Go ahead, B, before we get to
team.
I was just going to jump into the comments so that we can have a little bit more fun with this. Josh chimes in with, it was on when he threw his cap 25 feet in the air. Yeah, you know what? There was a lot of hand smacking. He threw his hand in the air. What I love is how he took off his overshirt, but had a shirt that looked almost the same underneath it. I don't know how that happened. And yes, you were absolutely you were exactly right, Josh. It was on once the cap went in the air, and then he got tackled, and all it was. And then we got Drunk chiming in with Ocho Cinco said he knew the dude that from the jump. Yes, the one brother that jumped in the water and swam from the boat to the shore. Oh man, and completely debunked all the stereotypes about black people in one video. Every person that has talked about black people not being able to swim, this one brother swam, I don't know, 50 feet to make sure that he was gonna get his hands on somebody. So that was awesome, man.
And his new name is Aquaman.
Aquaman.
I was like, oh my God. And then Drunk says it was beautiful, like watching an opera.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. That's what we need, Drunk. We need a slow-mo with the opera music playing in the background, and people just getting mollywopped all over the dock. because that's exactly what happened. And I love what I love about this is the fact that the guys that were owners of the boat casually went back to their boat real quick and was just chilling there. Like nothing was gonna happen.
Nothing.
What is going on? Now I'm from parts of the hood. I won't say the hood. I'm from Oakland. And if you're gonna go beat somebody up and they cousins and aunties and everybody else is and they homies is in the back, they coming to you. You got two choices. Be ready to fight or get the hell out of there. And for some reason, they didn't know how the game worked, and they were on their boat just chilling with their family like it was all good. So them brothers ran up to him like, yeah, we saw you, we was all there, and started banging heads, man. It was crazy.
One guy knew he was so outnumbered, he ran off the dock and jumped back in the water because he did not want any of that smoke to take place there. But man, look,
they turned him into a fish.
Yeah.
They turned him into a fish. He literally grew fins and jumped in the water, had gills and everything, just became a fish. And that poor woman that got beat up by the other lady bodyguard, which you can see in the photo here, yeah, it was on. She threw her right in the water.
Boy, did they made the wrong choice at the wrong time to want to sit there and leave a pontoon boat parked where it should have never been parked. Exactly. So, folks, if someone comes up nicely or just doing their job and says, hey, can you move your car? Just move it.
Yeah.
This didn't need to happen. It did not need to happen. And it did. And man, if you look, I love the internet, but the internet they were on point with some of their stuff here, to say the least.
Dude, I'm telling you, there's so many different memes on this stuff. And I'll just to back you up, B, if someone does ask you nicely and you thinking, I'm here, I'm going to do what I want to do, just take a moment to look in the car that needs to park. Make sure you know who's in that car before you make a move, because that's the mistake that they made here. He asked them to move so that they could park the boat. But they didn't take the time to look at who was on the boat. And that's where they messed up. They didn't look to see. They thought it was just a wedding ceremony or something simple. No. It was 50 to 75 African-American black people, on that boat. And the fact that they beat the bodyguard up the security guard who was also black, we gotta
it was a recipe for disaster.
We gotta take our entitlement card and put that thing in our back pocket. Be respectful people and walk away, because they played the wrong card. They played the wrong move.
And now this poor lady right here. I mean,
did you see the one with the Crocs? So
the one with the Crocs, that was at a different event. That was not at the brawl.
Okay.
That was a different event. At first, I lost my marbles when they kept showing the Crocs, but that was a different event that took place there. So, we want to introduce this because, man, it's nice. It's a nice little off-topic discussion there. Yeah. So this was definitely a good first night of introducing this here.
Absolutely. We're going to continue to do it, and hopefully the internet could keep supplying us with great things to talk about. Maybe we'll do a whole segment on Jordan Poole and how sad he looks now. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. or the fact that his daddy said that he could beat up Draymond Green. There's plenty of stuff for us to pull from. But we'll get there. But in the meantime, let's be nice to each other, people, because the moment you throw a punch, you don't know what's going to come back at you. You got to be careful out there.
Yep.
Be careful out there.
Let's give a shout out to the people involved with our show here. Josh, thanks for tuning in. He does say he wants to see the sequel. I doubt there will be another sequel because, man, there was a big lesson learned on a riverboat there. And Drunk, good to see you, man. We've missed you. It's been a minute since you joined
Absolutely.
us. So glad to have you here. Rachel jumping in on my mom's account there.
Just to take a shot at the Lakers.
Thanks for entertaining us there.
Sorry.
And Cookie Boy Breaks. Good to see you. Good to see you again, man. So, yes, sir. T, why don't you go ahead and take us out?
All right. Well, that does it for us. Another wonderful Sunday evening in the books. And again, if you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're seeing, because we're two good-looking gentlemen, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the like button. It really helps us. Notification button. And we thank you guys again for supporting us. And we are looking forward to next week. And hopefully, I mean, I don't know if I want to watch any more preseason football, but we're getting close to the start of football, folks. So once we get there, it's going to be a lot more exciting, and we will have some additional stuff to talk about. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you all next Sunday.
Have a good one, y'all.